Hey kids, as promised, we are going to open the beehive today. Before we do that though, I've got to light my smoker. So I've got just some cardboard that I've rolled up here that ought to do the trick if I can get it started. Stick it down in here, give it a few puffs, and then we have smoke coming out the top. Perfect. It's a pretty day, and usually on beautiful days the bees are in a pretty good mood and aren't wanting to sting. So I'm gonna put this long sleeve shirt on, and I've got my glove and my veils ready in case we need them. We'll see. Mark's got his veil on now, so the cameraman should be relatively safe. So I'm gonna put some smoke in the entrance. And this is, I liken this as sort of knocking on the door. Knock, knock. We got some visitors coming. They're not going to hurt you. Little smoke in there. One thing I like to do before I even open is just see how heavy it is. Oh man, I can hardly lift it. That's a good sign. There must be a lot of honey in there. So we pop off the lid. Blow a little smoke down in here, and we're going to take off the inner cover. As I said, they glue everything down with this bee glue, or sometimes it's called propolis is the official name. And there. Now let's see what we got. Oh, this looks pretty. When I see white along the edges of the frames like that, that means it's new wax they've just made, and I got a feeling this super is full of honey. Let me take one out and see what we see. Got a prime loose. We're manipulating. Oh, sudden movements are not the best thing with bees, but these bees are being pretty patient with me right now. Look at that. That is newly capped fresh honey. And it's just a beautiful sight. And the bees work from the middle and work their way out. So if this end one is filled, then I could be pretty sure that it's filled in the middle too. What I'm hoping we'll be able to see today is the three kinds of bees. Well, it's hard to see the queen because there's maybe 20,000 bees in here, and to find one bee, well, you don't always get to see the queen. We'll certainly see workers in drones. So I'm going to take this super off and look down below, see what's happening down in there. And this thing is heavy. So there are some kind of animals that live alone, like a snake. Doesn't have a family, or a pack like wolves do, or a flock like birds do. There are lots of social animals. There are only a few. Well, that was good. There's a little bit where I lifted it off. There's a little bit of wax here with some honey on it. And the wax is edible too. Some people like their honey in the comb, or like chewing gum. So, as I was saying, there are a few animals that are what we call super social animals, and we don't just have a group of 20 or 30 or 100. Actually, there's only 3 animals that are that way. One of them we talked about the other day, ants. The other is honeybees, and the third, can you guess what the third is? Humans. Yeah. So we are super social. We make cities and civilizations, and we organize these tremendously complicated things with all these people doing different jobs. And bees do the same thing. In fact, it's one way to think of a beehive is like a city. And all these bees are in there doing their part to make everything work. So there are worker bees whose job is just to build comb. All they do is make wax and build comb. There are other worker bees whose job it is to haul water, to keep the hive cool. There are air conditioner bees who fan their wings and make the moist, watery air circulate through the hive and cool things off, just like an air conditioner. There are guard bees who guard the entrance. Let's see what we got here. Okay. On this frame, we see some brood. See that part right there? Those are where where eggs were laid and the larva was growing, and baby bees will hatch out of there. It's what we call capped brood. These ones that are poking up a little bit, those are drone cells, and so drones will come out of those. And this used to be brood here, but they're filling it up with honey now. I wonder where they're getting their honey. Oh, there's a drone. I saw a drone.
Right there.
Yep. See how he's bigger than the other ones? They're kind of big. Oh, there's the queen. Oh my gosh, side by side. Drone, queen, worker. And the queen is shy, and she's going to try and hide from us, but hallelujah, look at that. There's the queen. So when you see the queen, usually eggs aren't far behind. I'm going to very carefully put her back in there because I don't want to smush her. So not every day you see a queen just randomly picking up a frame. We were lucky. I want to see if we can find some eggs now. So I was talking about the jobs of bees. There are guard bees whose job is to guard the hive, and they smell any other insect that's trying to come in. If it doesn't have the smell of this hive, they attack it and make it go away. There's a lot of brood on this cell, on this frame. See all that brood? It's what we call capped brood. I'm gonna look. There's a drone. See the drone right there? More capped brood on this side. So this is a very strong queen. She's laying lots of eggs, and these will hatch out and make new bees. In the summertime, I'm going to put this frame aside so I have room to pull out another. In the summertime, the bees are so busy, working so hard. The worker bees that go into the field, the average life of a bee in the summer is like 6 weeks. So you constantly have to have new bees coming along to replace the ones who die. And without a good, strong laying queen, a hive is in trouble because they won't have workers to replace the ones who die. There's more brood, and they're filling in the empty chambers with honey. I don't see any eggs. Maybe I'll look in one more frame here. We don't want to push our luck. They seem to be very happy right now. If I keep digging and pulling stuff out, after a while they'll get annoyed, and they'll let me know by buzzing around, and eventually they'll let me know by stinging. We don't want that. So, no larva on this frame either. Okay, I was talking about the jobs bees do. Let's see, I mentioned water carriers, I mentioned comb builders. There are bees who just bring this stuff here, this stuff called propolis or bee glue. Their job is to glue everything down. There are nurse bees, and their job is to take care of the young and feed them. Then there are the attendants of the queen. The queen bee has a bunch of bees that do nothing but take care of her. The queen doesn't feed herself. The queen doesn't do anything but lay eggs, and her attendant bees all take care of her. And, well, let's go down one more layer. See what we got. This one is pretty heavy too. It's got largely honey in it. Got a lot of honey. I know the queen is in there. I don't want to squish her. And this thing is a medication I put on months ago. A few puffs. I can get it loosened. Now this is a frame that's kind of messed up. This looks promising. Yes, larva. Hooray! So Look, if you look in those cells, let's get in the light, sunlight, we can see this a little bit. All right, you can see these little wormy things? Those are what we call larvae. And that's the, if these were, the caterpillar stage of honeybees. And after a certain time, they will cover them over with this capping, and they will pupate and develop into a bee. Really hard to see, but as you go this way, the larvae get smaller and smaller and smaller, because these were laid later and these were laid more recently. And if you look in that cell right there, I see an egg. It's a little tiny white, looks like a little grain of rice. So larvae, smaller larvae, eggs. So that's a nice pattern of brood there. They're kind of hard to see, but can you see them, Mark?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all of those are good signs of a healthy hive. And I am just delighted that these bees are cooperating with us today and letting us see all this stuff and do all this stuff without complaining. Whoops. So it's really hard to put things in without smushing stuff. I try not to smush bees, but I smushed a little bit of comb there and some honey dripped out. Okay, now I gotta do a little smoke here to get them out of the way. One theory about the smoke, why it works, and I don't know how they would ever know if this was true, because who knows what bees are thinking, but the theory is they think that their beehive is on fire. So what they do when they get to smell the smoke, many of them will go dive into a comb and start taking in honey. And if you've ever had a big meal, after a big meal you're kind of chill, and you don't feel like doing much. So maybe it makes them eat honey, and then they don't think about it. Anyway, the smoke helps. All right, this heavy one is going to go back on. Let's see, it's stuck to the lid. So the way I do the inner cover is I don't want to smush these bees, so I just kind of. And by the way, if I were going to harvest this honey today, which I'm not, I'm going to leave it on because I want to make sure they have enough for winter. We have honey inside the pavilion kitchen that we harvested earlier that we're going to show you how to do that. But if I were going to harvest these combs, one way to do it would be to take them out one at a time and just bounce them like this. And that knocks the bees off. And then put them in a box, cover them up, and one at a time take them off. There's other ways to do it too. Oops, there's a guy. That guy might be wanting. So he's telling me we're getting unhappy. Okay, we're done. Don't worry, bees. We're done.